Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Successful Bookkeepers webinar. My name is Rachel Fish. I will be your presenter today. I'll actually go back to the first screen here. We're going to be talking about unleash your niche. First of all, I would love to see where you are all from. So would love to see welcome from or checking in from. That would be really awesome. I'd appreciate that. Toronto. Awesome. Jason's from Moncton. Zach in Manchester. Wonderful. We've got some Alberta, some Florida, California. That's wonderful. Hello and welcome, everybody. Yes, I know where Uxbridge is. Anchorage, Alaska. My goodness. That's amazing. Thank you all so much for attending. I really appreciate it. And of course, appreciate your time. So I think I'll go through the introduction, but I actually want to jump into a poll pretty quickly here because I am excited about what you all want to get out of this session today. So a little bit about me. My name is Rachel Fish. I am a CPB, Certified Professional Bookkeeper here in Canada. I am also recently, I started just about 6 weeks ago, General Manager for North America at Dext, but I also do have an accounting firm. I'm the CEO of Realty Tax. My business partner, Melanie Schroeder, is a phenomenal business partner, and so she has stepped into the COO role, kind of fully managing the operations of that firm as well. So you can kind of tell by the name a little bit. I've got some experience building. Actually, I purchased this firm, but it is a niche firm. And so part of the idea of this session was to kind of share with you all of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years going through this journey with this accounting firm, and how I could maybe help some of you. But for now, I would love to hear, Katie, can you go ahead and start poll one? Because I would really love to hear a little bit about what you are hoping to learn today. And if the answer that you're looking for is not represented there, then please go ahead and put in the chat what you are hoping to learn today. Because I'd love to make sure we go through that as well. All right, we've got a good half and half on where to start on finding a niche. Oh my gosh, they keep moving. General landscape, information about the niche landscape, why a niche firm might be a good idea for you. And if any of you already have niche firms, I would love to hear a little bit more about that, and what you currently niche in. So yeah, feel free to put that in the chat as well. Again, if any of the answers that you wanted to pick isn't represented there in the poll, you can go ahead and put that in the chat. So actually, now that things have settled down a little bit, it looks like the top item, I'm just going to stop the poll in about 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so that you can all see those results as well. So as you can see, we've got general information about the niche landscape is coming in at number 1 with 65% of the vote. Next, we've got where to start on finding a niche, which is always kind of feels like, the magic. I was thinking of my precious, the golden ring, right? Is that the holy grail? What that looks like on finding a niche. And then, of course, why a niche firm might be a good idea for you as well. So let's jump straight into it, shall we? All right. So first, we're going to go through to niche or not to niche. So when you want to do it, when you don't want to do it, right? That number 1 answer, but number 3 in ranking. Your ideal client, how do you find each other? Oh, sorry, there's already a place for the poll. Where do you start, of course? And of course, we're going to leave lots of room for questions and answers. Of course, I jumped the line a little bit and did the poll question not at the right time. So thank you, everybody, for indulging me in that. But it was really great to get your feedback. I promise, Katie, I will wait until I see poll 2 before I suggest we start on poll 2. So first of all, one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of address this with all of the things that I've learned is that there's a lot of noise out there, it feels like sometimes, when it comes to niches. A lot of people, and I'm Canadian, so that's how we say it here. So a lot of people talk about, their value. You could get like a higher multiple for your firm if it was a niche firm. You can really kind of hone your tech stack if you have a niche firm. And I think what I would say, very generally speaking, is that all of these things, being more profitable, more productive, having a really tight-knit tech stack, can be done even if you don't have a specific industry focus or a niche firm. And so this is something that has often been challenged in the discussions around niches. Can't a niche just be the way I work? I support, one GL, our accounting software, whether it be Xero, QuickBooks, Sage. I work with, a couple other apps, be it Dext, WagePoint, Gusto, those kinds of things. And so as long as the client fits into that tech stack, then they're a good fit for me. And so it's not that that's a bad thing. It's just that there might be a little bit more to consider. So all of the things and the very positive things that we're talking about in terms of what's possible with a niche, and you can see here just a few of the headlines that I pulled from different providers. You can see we've got sales and marketing agencies that are putting out content about niches. We've got software companies putting out content about niches. We've got, groups like the Entrepreneurial Accountants and Future Firm, putting out information about niches. Some other software, Gusto's got some content in here. Bookkeeper's got some content in here. But everyone seems to have an opinion on niches or how it will completely revolutionize your firm. So I kind of want to talk about those things that everybody talks about, but don't worry, we're also going to spend some time today talking about those things that nobody talks about and that you really have to be kind of in the trenches within a niche firm to experience firsthand. So first of all, believe it or not, these items that I put in quotes are actual quotes from actual articles about niche firms. One, your competition dissolves and you're the first firm they'll contact. So again, I'm not really sure that's true. Will you maybe decrease the competition? Sure, because there are fewer firms that might have that focus. Might you be the first firm they contact? Potentially, but you probably should have pretty strong SEO to go along with that, right? So the context is that all you have to do is have a niche firms, and these things will now be true. And there's just more to it than that. There's other efforts and other things that need to go with it. So first of all, I don't think the competition ever dissolves, regardless of how amazing your firm is. They are still present, and I like to think of it as a co-opetition, I think is the word, where there isn't really that competitive nature necessarily between accounting firms, but we can certainly be a lot collaborative with each other too. Another one, right? The part that everybody talks about, do what you love. You like beer? You should niche in breweries. This was an almost exact discussion that I was part of when I was with Deloitte. And, we were kind of exploring that industry vertical approach. Are there certain industries that we have kind of a concentration of clients, right? Which is one, we'll go through this in more detail a little later on, kind of how to pick your niche. But these are some of the things, that were being discussed. And in going about having a niche firm, it has a lot less to do with what you love than it does being obsessive about solving the problems that breweries face, right? There's a difference between liking beer and being really fascinated to the point of obsessive of solving some of these pain points that with that breweries had. Share, oh my goodness, I must, these tabs, I could not get rid of these tabs. So I was even mentioning to Katie, I'm like, as long as nobody minds my tabs, like this is as good as it's going to get today. So thank you so much. I got you. I know what real life is like. They don't even shut down at the end of the day. It's this many tabs. But this is what I could get done for you today. Thanks for calling me out. Yes, justice for multi-tabbers. There you go. But do you see what I mean about that beer story? It goes beyond liking something, enjoying, maybe even being like a beer snob, to being truly obsessive about solving the problem. Also note that I'm not saying be obsessive about a specific solution. Something that we learn in product management, don't ever fall in love with your solution. Fall in love with the problem that you're trying to solve and be willing to change the solution based on the best fit for that problem. So there's a little product management nugget of knowledge for you all. But the idea here is that we're not just liking beer. We're not just, going to a different brewery every week to get a tour or whatever a fan does. We are being truly obsessive about solving the specific and unique problems that breweries face. And again, that's just an example. There are lots of different things that we could take a look at in terms of niches as well. Another article, another quote from a different article about niches. This is how, great journalism there is about niches out there right now. The clients you're looking for will be naturally drawn to you, as if you are a magical magnet that you can just kind of, put up a website or put up in a brick or mortar, put out your sign, and all of a sudden, the people will come build it, right? If you build it, they will come. That's not exactly it. Right? There is still the operations of running a successful firm. And I think that one of the things that sometimes people look to, and I just want to reset expectations here, when they're looking to niches, is that it is some kind of magic pill or magic solution that will automatically and creatively create profitability, create a funnel of clients that you can't get otherwise. And so I just wanted to reset expectations. Here is yet another actual quote from an actual article on niches. You can charge more for your expertise and people will gladly cough it up. Now, I don't disagree with the first part of that you can charge more for your expertise, because if you're doing it right, if you're obsessive about solving that unique problem that some of these niches have, you will be able to charge for that. But the way that it just mentions, people will gladly cough it up. I think we've all been in this industry long enough to know that clients don't cough anything up. That is of value to us typically. And so, just making sure that again, we're resetting expectations. I actually just had a LinkedIn conversation, if that's a thing, where we were talking about, if you haven't raised your prices yet this year, now is a good time to do so. And we were kind of talking about what restaurant was that was kind of going to do change their pricing structure. Wendy's, is that something that basically charging more if there's an urgent need for Wendy's. I don't know if it was Wendy's or NW, but something like that. And so what I had said was that my price goes up the closer we get to tax deadlines because that client had better really want to get their taxes done and be willing to kind of put their money where their mouth is in order for us to take them on as a client. Thanks, Joan. Yes, Wendy's was that restaurant. I don't even know if that was true or if that was just creating buzz, but it certainly got the conversation going. So what I had mentioned was that, we have our regular price. The closer it gets to tax time, the higher that price goes up. And then, of course, keeping in mind the capacity of the team. If we have no capacity, we don't take on any clients anyway. And then typically what happens is the next year, our starting price is where the previous year ended up. So whatever price kind of that last person signed up with us with, that then becomes our new starting price for the next year. And again, that next wave is, price goes up closer to tax time. We don't go crazy, don't get me wrong, but it is certainly a really good test of what the market will bear. But again, none of my clients have coughed up dollar bills for me. Another thing is being known as an expert. So yes, absolutely, you can get known as an expert. In fact, this was said to me, you only have to know slightly more than the people in the room. Back years ago, I was having a discussion with a training company, and how it started was I had just decided to go into business for myself. I had a very small bookkeeping practice in Brandon, Manitoba called Fish Books, which is actually still my Twitter handle. And I had reached out to this training company to say, hey, I know we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, but there are a lot of small businesses that use QuickBooks. So maybe you should do some training here. And I mean, basically through the rest of the conversation, he's like, yeah, we probably do. So tell me about yourself. We had a good conversation. And by the end of the conversation, I was signed up as a trainer with this training company where I then had all of the resources to do whatever training I wanted, basically. And I, oh, shares in Portage La Prairie. Yes, wonderful. Yes, you know exactly where that is, of course. Portage La Prairie is almost exactly halfway between Brandon and Manitoba. So thanks for letting me know, Cher. But I was starting to get a little nervous as I was, training. Basically, by the end of the month, I had trained all of the QuickBooks courses that were in their portfolio, but I was starting to get a little nervous about, what if people are starting to attend and giving them answers, they're not the right answers. And this is his expert advice. You only have to know slightly more than the people in the room. You only have to be able to answer their questions. You don't have to go on this huge diatribe on all of these advanced skills that you may have, which I clearly didn't at the time because I was still learning as I was teaching. And so what I would say is this is almost a little bit of that kind of fake it till you make it approach in terms of getting that expertise, right? In terms of getting that knowledge right from the beginning. So some of you may be taking that as a positive message, that, have a little grace with yourself as you continue to dig in deep and to learn, the ins and outs of these niches. And others might be, no, I actually want to be a full-on expert first before I even go to market. So just remember, perfection is the enemy of done, or good, or shipped, is what we say in the product world as well, right? Perfection is the enemy of shipped. So perfect products never get shipped. Get it out there, get it seen, learn from customer feedback, and then continue to refine as you go. Another part that everybody talks about, firm operations are easy, right? Find the one app that you need to manage these niches and you'll be set to go. And again, I would challenge that to say, firm operations are just as easy or difficult as if you had no niche at all. You still have the authority, the responsibility of running a team, of running an accounting firm, and all of the things that go with it. So I wouldn't say that firm operations on their own are somehow magically easier, but we can talk about some of the things that it certainly tends to simplify. But let's talk about what actually is a niche, or how granular do we get when we talk about niches. So something that could be quite general, is it just a general industry, tech startups, right? But as we start to kind of identify what that niche is, we can also continue to like peel away a layer and peel away a layer so that you're continuing to refine what that niche or what that ideal client profile looks like. So is it as basic as or as general as an industry like tech startups? Or is it a specific revenue size within that? Startups under $1 million in revenue, or pre-revenue startups, or they're in the fundraising stage, or right there, you could really kind of dig in terms of that. Some have great niches when it comes from that challenging adjustment area for startups from startup to scale up, right? They've built the business in a certain way to facilitate the operations of a startup, and now they're starting to get scale. And so how can you help them as an expert in that area really kind of go through that time of transformation? And also, how granular is too granular? Or maybe there isn't even such a thing. So let's go back to that beer example that I had mentioned. Is it all breweries, right? Would you take on Molson as a client and Sawdust City as a client? Or is there a specific size, right? In the example above, we talked about that revenue size or that people size or whatever that looks like. Or is it breweries within a specific niche already, like non-alcoholic or even gluten-free breweries, right? So there's lots of options. And we talk about this a little bit later as we go through some of those rabbit holes that you can get into as you learn just how much there is to know about a niche. This is a great quote from Lior from Connect CPA, a Dext partner of ours. Thank you so much, Katie, for finding this. And so in an increasingly competitive and rapidly changing industry, specialization really is a key way for accountants to stand out and succeed, right? That's what we want to do, is we want to differentiate ourselves from others. And this is exactly what Lior is saying here. So from a quality of work standpoint, the knowledge and experience that is acquired through owning a specific niche will be reflected in the service you provide. With greater learnings come better service, and that part does not go unnoticed. So soon you're able to differentiate yourself from others and run away from the pack. And Connect CPA, if you want to check out their website, Connect CPA has done a really fantastic job of catering to startups and technology and e-commerce clients. That's really kind of what they're known for. They do have clients outside of that, as I think many other niche firms do. Niche doesn't mean you only take a certain client, but sometimes those are the ones that you focus on. And then sometimes you have some legacy clients or things like that. So I wouldn't say that 100% of their clients are e-commerce or startup tech companies, but certainly the majority are. And you can even tell from their website, the wording, the logos they present, the technology, their partners that they present are all kind of geared towards that workflow there as well. Okay, hold on. One of the really difficult things, though, we talked about kind of some of those promises, right? Some of those, how easy it is, how clients will throw money at you, how your competition will dissolve. But regardless of the promises of whatever that niche will deliver, they're ultimately completely impossible to quantify because there are so many other variables and factors that go towards accounting firm growth. So there isn't a direct cause to effect when it comes to a niche firm or not a niche firm, but there are probably some things in common when you take a look at some of these niche firms. First of all, many of them are cloud-based, which allows us to have that data connectivity, that workflow that really works. Many will have very defined processes and of course standardized as well. Others will also have a refined tech stack. So a lot of times when you hear of these accounting firms that have hundreds of apps in their tech stack, it probably means because they're trying to solve for multiple different workflows. But you can actually keep your tech stack quite refined. So basically, in other words, they are already efficient firms that are already seeing an increased ROI. And so having a niche is actually secondary to their strategy of success and not primary, right? So if we go with all of the things that are common within a niche firm, the niche part can sometimes be the least interesting part because of all of the other ways that they've built their operations and their team. So this is bless David Leary. This is, and I do have to give him credit because this is entirely a David Leary slide that I think I first saw. I heard about him starting to build it in like 2014, 2015. I know for sure that this slide is from a presentation that he did at QuickBooks Connect in about 2017, I think, 2016, 2017. So first of all, the whole conversation about niches is not brand new. It's not something that's happened in the last year. So even if you look at the date of some of those, like the headline clippings that I had in the previous slide, they're like 2016, 2017. This has been going on for a while. But one of the things that I think David really kind of honed in on is how these building blocks really start to build on top of each other as you build your firm. So the idea here is that first of all, we've got that cloud as that base, right? That common element across many of these firms that are doing this really well. Once you pick your niche, and we can talk about what picking your niche looks like, what that does is that allows you to go deeper in the industry knowledge. It also means that you really have to learn less apps because you have a better understanding of what that industry needs. So for example, at Realty Tax, we don't have to worry about doing research or adding an inventory app to our tech stack because none of our clients have inventory, right? So you can see how when you really refine what your client needs, because they have a certain profile that goes with a certain niche, you can really start to kind of separate out the noise. You can then, so if you're learning less apps, you can also then focus on scaling your processes. Next, have a better understanding of your costs because you don't have, these extra apps or having to figure out the ROI on these apps. Once you've got a better understanding of your cost, it's much easier to bring in different pricing methodologies like flat rate pricing or value-based pricing because you have, again, standardized or refined your processes. You have a nice tight tech stack. And so it's easier to then start to anticipate what a profitable engagement looks like. And again, for those of you just joining us or just catching up, I'm starting at the bottom, moving up, I'm about halfway. So then once we've got that our pricing has been kind of locked in, now we can go back and focus on that industry expertise. So now we've gone beyond just the industry knowledge that you see third from the bottom. And now we're actually starting to differentiate ourselves, starting to price ourselves as experts in this industry, as opposed to, just another one of a million accountants who knows how to do something. Once we've got that really deep industry expertise, now we can actually start to market specifically to the niche that we've adopted, because again, we've got a better understanding of what marketing initiatives and strategies would resonate with those clients because we're an expert in that. Now we're going to start to open up that funnel, get more niche clients. They will understand the value that you've created, and maybe you will better understand the value that you've created as well. Now we can increase some of that value billing, better understand the pain points that you're solving for clients. I wouldn't say unlimited revenue. Your revenue is still limited by your capacity, but I would say that you can certainly start to increase capacity for this new an improved model. You then you've gone beyond expert to now get the reputation as the best in the industry, which then continues to bring on new opportunities, like speaking engagements, like writing articles, like really kind of being the voice of that industry. But the overall point of this, whether you agree or disagree with any one specific line, the overarching theme is that each one of these elements enables the next one above it, right? And so it's really being built on that. Now, I was looking at things a little bit differently, and this is how I was looking at it, which, I mean, the layers were nice and static, and they just piled onto each other nicely. But I think that what I wanted to kind of visualize, or ensure that you all could visualize, is that constant defining, refining, and getting deeper into your niche. You'll notice that even when we were going through those different bars, there were a couple of themes that came up a couple of times, right? First, we're going to get industry knowledge. Then we're going to become an industry expert. Then we're going to be known as the best in our field, right? First, we're going to take a look at fixed pricing because we've got a good idea of our costs. Next, we're going to kind of upgrade that to value billing because now we've got a better sense for the pain point that we're solving. Again, because we're falling in love with the problem, not falling in love with the solution. And this is where that continuous improvement, is that Ikigai? No, that's something else. Starts with a K. Katie, I'm sure you know it. But basically that continuous improvement, Kaizen, thank you, Evelyn. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. But the idea is that we still have some of those same elements, but they are going to be continuously evolving. And then what that does is whether those items include people items, right? That knowing the industry, knowing your client, those processes, right? I'm Canadian, so I can say that processes elsewhere, to really refine and standardize what that process looks like. And then, of course, technology to make sure that you do have the appropriate tech stack, which you can usually tighten up quite a bit to do that as well. But it is continuous, and that it is all targeted at who your ideal client profile is, which also will continue to be refined. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to include in today's session is what that actually looks like now at Realty Tax. So we have an ideal client profile at Realty Tax, which allows us to really quickly and easily sometimes weed out some clients that we don't necessarily want to work with. First of all, they need to understand and accept our pricing structure and range. So we charge flat fee monthly. We have set minimums for some of the services that we do. And so if they don't want a flat monthly price, or they want a service cheaper than what we're looking at, then they're probably not going to be a good fit for us. Next is working virtually. If they want an office to drop a box off at, they will not find it. Our team is distributed across Canada, and so we don't work with paper at all. Next, they have to be willing to connect their bank feeds to cloud tools. Again, if this is a deal breaker for them, then we might want to revisit if we want to take them on as a client. We want our clients to be really data driven because that's what our outputs are. So we want you to be engaged in the data, to spend time with us, to understand what that means for you so that you can make decisions for your business. We want clients who can follow directions. I think this is probably one of the most understated things that you might want of your clients. And so actually part of our scoping process or part of our lead process is for them to complete a questionnaire. If they can't follow directions to complete a questionnaire, then do we know that they're going to submit all their paperwork on time for their tax return? Possibly not, but they certainly haven't taken that opportunity to prove to us that they would. And we do have a preference for incorporated career agents or certainly those that are growing their business and on their way to become career agents there as well. So all of the things that I mentioned here in this continuous cycle, this is what it ends up looking like for us to be a good fit. Now, what if you are at too large a firm to really say, okay, we're going to fire all of our clients except for this specific niche? Well, the great thing there is that you can adopt a very similar model. So in the middle, we've got our ideal client profile. We still have, the people that we need in terms of operations, those standardized processes, that refined tech stack. But instead of having a single niche, what you could do is actually create industry verticals. And many large firms have done this in order to create that niche type experience at a firm that's too large for it to actually make sense, right? So now instead of dealing with a whole niche firm, you're dealing with these niched industry verticals within the firm. You can usually see pretty quickly what kinds of firms have what kinds of industry verticals or niches. If you go to any of their websites and you go to the industries that they serve, of course, if they have a list of about 100, then I wouldn't consider them niched. But in many of those cases, they do have refined teams that work on, for example, whole teams that work on cannabis, whole teams that work on real estate and construction, whole teams that work on restaurant and hospitality, because it gives them an opportunity to know those industries really well. In fact, I'm pretty excited because at Dext, one of the things that our team, our direct to client team, is doing is a little later on in the year, we're going to start to see some marketing campaigns that are niched around certain industries. And so it allows us to talk about the value proposition in the context of the specific problems that we're trying to solve for these different industry vertical clients. Okay, and next. So how does your ideal client find you? It's really important to realize that your website, your story, your brand, your colors, all of it, it's not for you. It isn't. I mean, not that you have to dislike it, but it's not for you. It's for your ideal client. So make sure that any of those marketing types of activities or those things that you do to attract clients speak to the type of client that you want. Things like social media, SEO, paid advertising. Where do your ideal clients hang out? Where are they located? And how can you meet them where they are instead of having to draw them in to where you are? Sponsorships and associations or partnerships are a fantastic way to connect directly with clients who need exactly the services that you offer. So even do a Google search, how to start whatever, enter niche here, business, and you actually get a huge number of articles. So get in touch with the author and see if there's a way to support them. Get a mention in some high-ranking articles as a firm who supports these kinds of businesses. Associations and partnerships. Does the group that you want to serve, that niche, does it have associations that you can connect with? Sometimes there's an opportunity to be an affiliate member, which is a great way to get to know some of these clients. Are there events or conferences that you can go to, whether you just attend or whether you end up sponsoring them? The vendors are there to help you with a specific need, but be the vendor in some cases and not the attendee. I came across this recently, the Canadian Franchise Association. So again, one of the things that we're taking a look at Dext a little later on this year is deepening our relationship with some of these franchise organizations, one of which is the Canadian Franchise Association. And if you go onto the Canadian Franchise Association website, they've got a really massive show coming up in Montreal really soon. There was one just a few weeks ago or a month or two ago in Phoenix. That was, again, another massive franchise show I want you to take a look at their sponsor list and see how many of those are accounting firms. And I promise you, there are accounting firms that even if they don't niche in it, because the ones that are sponsoring this specific event are some larger firms, but they have specific teams or those industry verticals that I mentioned that serves that niche, right? That serves specifically franchises. Franchises have unique challenges that other businesses don't. And so it allows you, again, to fall in love with those challenges and then to go ahead and create solutions for those. Influencers, who's big in that space? Is there room for collaboration where you could partner with an influencer to deliver content to your ideal client profile? Content is a really great free give. A lot of the insights that you have that you probably don't even know you have, put them in an article, and then put it on your socials, your website, make sure that it's optimized for SEO. But it's one of the ways that you can start standing out as a subject matter expert. It's really funny. Jason's stats on LinkedIn, every once in a while, he puts out a list of hyper niche firms. Now, this isn't just, as I said, like breweries. This is like craft breweries in this region between this revenue owned by this type of person. So it's really interesting to see the kinds of niches that you can come up with when you think of all of the unique ways to partner or to connect with them as well. So we talked about the parts that everybody talks about, right? How clients will throw their money at you, how your competition will dissolve. Now let's talk about some of the stuff that nobody talks about. So first of all, rabbit holes. As I mentioned, there is an incredible depth, complexity, and branching of niches. I've learned, for example, even though I have an accounting firm called Realty Tax, to basically pay almost no attention to many of the large firms that have a real estate and construction industry vertical, because they're not looking to solve for the real estate agent or broker like I am. They're looking for real estate developers, property managers, the ones that are actually more affiliated with the construction industry. So, but even within real estate, it could be, okay, is it short-term rental, long-term rental? Is it passive income, active income? Is it, holiday or vacation? I mean, you could seriously go quite deep on those. So part of the challenge as you continue that deep dive into the industry that you want to specialize in is actually knowing when to draw the line, when to say, okay, this is specific enough. This gives me a good sense of the market opportunity, right? How many potential clients I would have in this space and how easily I could stand out as a client, or sorry, as an accountant within that space. Okay. So yes, there are rabbit holes, know when to draw the line, and you'll be totally fine. Oh, that rhymed. There also needs to be a little bit of humility needed because there will always be somebody who knows more than you. I just take that as a given every day of the week. But sometimes, as I said here, spotlights have shadows. And so making sure that, for as much as you are seen as an expert, you are always willing to know more, to learn more, to listen to your clients, right? And make sure that you're continuing to solve for them. One of the things that I do here is part of the fear of going into some of these niches is that networks spread gossip as easily as referrals. So if you've built this really solid network of these really tight-knit community that you serve based on your niche, when things go wrong, it potentially could spin out of control a lot faster because of how small that community is, or because of how, they've built your business by referral, right? They all know each other. This is something that we have experienced in the real estate space because agents like to talk to each other and like to give each other the scoop on stuff. And in one case, we had one very unique situation with one very specific agent who she got together for lunch with a couple other people. One had just come on with us, and the other one was a few months in. The one who had just came on basically said, if her experience is that horrible, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm out. We refunded her money. She had only paid a deposit. We hadn't done any of the work yet. We let her go. Again, the situation was so unique to that person that the likelihood of it happening again was so rare. And yet, in good faith, we needed to do the right thing by the client. The second one, though, ended up sending an email, very concerned about basically all of the things that the first real estate agent was complaining about, except that in her case, none of those things were actually true, but they were things that she was fearful of because of the first. So what we were able to do is basically go back, instill some confidence, make sure that she knew exactly, the situation in her specific case and how we were working with her. We were able to put her mind at ease and then continue working with her. Another one is the fear of only. Oh, so you only work with breweries? And so having the confidence to say, yeah, I do, because I really love, those unique challenges that they have. But again, there will be a bit of humility needed, or sometimes standing up for yourself for making the decision that you do. But overall, I just want to make sure that I'm super clear about there is no magic bullet. The danger of overselling is that you have this magic wand, which will make everything amazing and perfect for this niche, which again is simply not true. Mistakes happen. It's still the operations of a firm. Your marketing can sometimes be put under a microscope because you're supposed to be this expert. If you get it wrong, sometimes it just feels like a big miss, where otherwise it would just be a small error, and needing to make sure that you really have the solid skills to back it up. So why you might want to think about niching, again, ignoring the false promises and ignoring all of the noise, it does allow you to envision your ideal client and getting really focused on how to find them. Imagine working with your favorite or your ideal client all the time. I'm sure that you have clients that you feel energized after spending time with them, right? You love working with them. It's just is such a great partnership. Then there are other clients that just feel like if you have to pick up that phone, it will suck a year of your life away every single time that you have to talk to them on the phone, right? Those clients too. Now imagine a firm where you didn't actually have to deal with those soul-sucking clients, and that you could continue to work with your ideal clients all the time. If you love a certain business, area, pain point, why not try and make that the majority of the work that you do? It does have the potential to be very lucrative if you're willing to put in the work to not only run an efficient and productive and profitable firm, but also to become the industry expert that your clients would expect from you. So where do you start? First, work back from the current clients that you love working with. Get out physical buckets if you have to. Write names on papers. Throw their names into which bucket they belong in. Who are your A, bucket clients? Those you love working with them. They pay you well. They get you their stuff on time. I know it's like the Yeti of clients, but if you have some of those clients, put them in that first bucket. Next, if you've got ones, you don't mind working with them. They pay you pretty much on time. You wish you could charge them more, but overall, not terrible. You don't get a lot of energy when you talk to them, but they don't suck your life away either. And then third, those C and D clients, they are a drain on the morale in your team, on your resources, on your energy. And those are probably the ones that we don't really want to be niching in. Now take a look at that A bucket and think about if there are any commonalities in those clients that are sitting in the A buckets. If you don't have any clients in the A bucket, go to your B bucket. Ideally, you've got some names in that A bucket where you can go through and see if you can start to find some common themes or common things associated with those A bucket clients. So is there an emerging industry or profile or demographic where there might be then some more opportunity? So there's always like a top 10 niche list everywhere. Here you can see many of them. Real estate, again, there are a lot of kind of sub niches of real estate as well. SaaS startups, again, and a sub niche could be where they are in the funding process or in their revenue. Construction, this also could be sub niched as well. Are you interested more in handyman and renovation work or new home construction or commercial construction, right? There's lots of different options there as well. Restaurants, again, you could have a niche between franchised restaurants and non-franchised, between in-room dining and fast food, right? There's different needs for each of these different kinds of things. Professional services like law, dental, medical, vet firms, as well. I know there is a CPA for dentists out there. I know there's a CPA for cannabis out there, and you can actually tell by the company name and their marketing what they're focusing in. Hospitality, home service, what I mentioned with construction, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, landscaping. Again, they have very unique needs that need to be solved for. And then crypto and things like that as well. Julie is just asking, will you have a link to this? I missed the first part. Yes, it will absolutely be sent out. And I think I saw in the schedule that it's actually, we're going to replay it in a couple of weeks as well. All right. So I do need to, I do know where my day job is. So one of the really cool things that I'm loving about what Dext is doing this year, as I mentioned, is actually kind of jumping into this niche thing where we've got, coming later this year, we will have specific marketing campaigns. Construction is going to be one of them. Restaurants is going to be another one. Professional services is going to be another one. And I think we'll have another initiative as well with franchises, especially in North America. So super excited. Even something like Dext, which is not a niche product. It's not like it's Jobber, right? Jobber does that home service repair, landscaping, does that incredibly well. This isn't that. Dext you can use for every single client. But what we're doing is we're focusing the messaging so that we can demonstrate the value proposition and how we solve specific problems to specific industries, even though you can really use Dext for every single client, right? Same with QuickBooks, same with Xero, same with those other apps that are a lot more general. But what we can do is we can actually create a marketing campaign around more of a focus. And so with Dext, for those of you who are maybe less familiar, we work on all of the data capture, extraction, and collection. Basically, the mission of Dext is to make accounting effortless and empowering accountants and bookkeepers with AI-driven solutions that simplify, digitizes, and automates how business is accounted for. Dext enhances the productivity and profitability of bookkeeping while providing real-time, accurate data that unlocks advisory revenue for firms and improves cash flow and decision-making for their clients as well. I know it's something that I started using over a decade ago, and we still use to this day, just because it is such a powerful tool within our bookkeeping tech stack. So, time for another question. I would love to know if you are interested in learning more about Dext. Yes, send me free trial information. I'd like to learn more. Not right now. Again, we know it's tax time, but I'm already a partner. That's definitely the one that I would fall into. And thank you so much for all of your feedback. I really appreciate it. We do have a few minutes left. I would love to spend some time on Q&A. So as soon as you have answered the poll, if you've got some questions, go ahead and put those in the chat window. Katie, I don't know if we've got the Q&A part of Zoom going. If we do, if you could check it and let me know, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, if any of you do have any questions, please just put them in the chat and then we'll be good to go. Do any of you have specific niches that you're thinking about going into? we could maybe brainstorm some of the opportunities in there. Real estate agents. Awesome, Janice. I happen to know a few things about real estate agents. They are a very specific profile type, right? If you think about the personality of a real estate agent. But what I would say is that they need help. There is not a lot of business and financial education that's included in the real estate licensing program. And so some of the things that we've done is really fine tuning, again, that tech stack and the problem solving for that. Feel free to reach out to me at any time, Janice, and all of you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I certainly don't mean that to be a private invitation for Janice, but I would love to learn about how I can help you there as well. Karen, currently in and wanting to grow in construction and manufacturing, inventory, project tracking, things that other people usually don't want to do. Isn't that always the way that your niche ends up just being what other people don't want to do? But what it does do, Karen, is it can build you a really solid referral network. Again, if you can prove, that you're doing really well by your clients, then you can partner with other firms to kind of take on their clients in that area. Shares thinking about e-commerce. E-commerce is so unique because of the way that the sales activities work, and how complex that is. A couple of things that come to mind. Dext Commerce, of course. We've got the Dext Commerce platform, formerly Greenback, where we can bring in those sales from those different e-commerce platforms. Kathleen, cleanups for small to medium businesses. Ideas for niches, how to research the viability, interested in artists and farmers. That's quite the mix. I think it would just be, looking up in the couple previous slides, we took a look at, basically how to set up a farming business or an artist business, how to generate more income from your art. Like, start looking at some of those and see if there's an opportunity for you to stand out there. A lot of opportunity in the non-technical folks, hyper-local. Yes, absolutely. What about the engineering? Jackie, do you mean like engineering as a niche or engineering in terms of the firm operations? I just want to go back to the poll here because everybody has answered. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. It's really great to see that so many of you are already partners. And so I really appreciate that. I can be found at Fishbooks on Twitter. There's also a Facebook group called Dext Generation. And of course, I'm also on LinkedIn, as most accounting professionals are, and I would love to connect with you there. Lori, you've got a question here. We're out of time, but I would love to connect with you on maybe LinkedIn, or if you wanted to jump into the Facebook group for Dext Generation, and we can go through some of the best niches for different skill sets. I would love to dig in that a little deeper. Jackie, yes, absolutely. Engineering is a niche. We've seen accounting firms for architects and so on as well. So I think it would follow along that kind of vein as well. Thank you all so much for your time. I know we're a minute over. I really appreciate you and all of the feedback that you've given. Again, please feel free to connect with me outside of this webinar, and I'm looking forward to going a little deeper in these conversations soon. Take care.